England this morning took just 25 minutes to wrap up that 9-wicket win over South Africa at the Oval, gave them a 2-1 series win. Afterwards, Ben Stokes explained what had stood out for him the most in the series win.
I mean, there's a few. I think throughout this whole series, there's not sort of been, a real individual standout performer throughout the whole series. And when it comes to team sport, you always want to be able to turn to different individuals at different times and hope that they can deliver for you. And I feel as if, whether that's been with bat or ball, it's been someone different stepping up at different occasions. And that's what you need to win a series against a team like South Africa. It's been very pleasing to be able to captain this side. The lads' mindset and attitude towards this whole summer as well has been fantastic. But yeah, I think the fact that everyone's managed to put their hand up at different times and do something special in crucial moments of the test matches throughout this whole series has been great.
The match at lunchtime yesterday could still have gone either way. What made you take the ball when you did and keep bowling the way you did?
Look, I think looking at where the game is with it sort of coming closer to the end, and with Jimmy, Broady and Robbo, it's about sort of trying to think how can I get the most out of them with the balls, newer, harder, and still maybe offering a little bit more. So you'll see I've done a lot throughout the summer of bowling one of the lads a short spell, one longer, and then bring the third seamer to follow the longer, so then the other opening bowler can come back for another spell. So for me, it's just been about managing, getting the most out of the top three bowlers as I can. And then look to bring myself into the game when they bowl a few overs themselves.
The ball just suddenly started swinging in an extraordinary way. Do you know why? How?
No, it's done that throughout the summer, to be honest. Like, we'll go through stages of obviously when the new ball, it does do a little bit more harder and it starts to seam, but then gone through periods where the ball's got soft and not done a lot, but then all of a sudden the ball just starts swinging. So as soon as Joe and Folksy said the ball started to swing, you sort of look to bring me and Jimmy into the game a bit more, because with Robbo and Broady's height, they're a bit more sort of off the pitch, seam movement and a bit extra bounce. But as soon as the ball starts swinging, that's where me and Jimmy like to come on the ball.
The summer's almost been a summer of two halves in the way the pitches have played. A very sort of bat-dominated, exciting series against New Zealand, similarly exciting series and fast-moving, but with ball-dominating bat in here in particular. What do you prefer?
Honestly, whatever. If we end up winning, I don't mind. And that's where sport is. Sport is always set up for a winner and a loser, and regardless of whatever conditions you're faced with, you've got to think about what's the best way possible of you to get the win. I think it was pretty obvious at that wicket there was always going to be a ball with your name on it, so we had to decide pretty quickly how we were going to go out and play. We didn't feel that sort of hanging around and trying to bat time was the right way to go about it. It was to go out there and try and put their best ball under as much pressure as we could, which is what we managed to do. And look, the way that we managed to bounce back after their opening partnership was phenomenal. That period after lunch, the 2 hours that we bowled there, was really brought us back into the game. We didn't allow them to do anything different to what they wanted to do. They weren't able to put any pressure back onto us because of how well we bowled, and we just concentrated on what we do. And I think that's why we've ended up, coming back here on day 3 with 30 to win.
Stuart Broad's now gone to grab Glenn McGrath for test wickets. How important are Broad and Anderson to you as captain?
I think they're more than that. They're just important to this whole group. The amount of experience that they have, their knowledge of bowling in particular is great for the younger lads we've got coming through. For example, Potsy at the start of the summer, the amount of time that he was able to spend around Jimmy and Broady, ask him about bowling, that kind of stuff is absolutely priceless. It's great to have them in the team. They absolutely love representing England, and as I've said many times before, I can't really see where they're going to end, because they keep performing day in, day out for us, and as long as they keep doing that, you can't not pick them.
And a word on a player who's not here on the final day of the season to mark it with you, but Johnny Bestow has had a phenomenal season with the bat. So what can you say about the way he's performed? Yeah,
he's been incredible. He's been a huge reason as to why we stand here at the end of the summer with the success we've had. Batting at number 5 is a position that is quite sometimes difficult to read, because you can go in and bat at 200 for 3, or you can go in early at 30 for 3, but what he's been able to do is he's played at the same tempo throughout the whole summer. The hundreds he's got has been frightening to watch. and I think he's really come of age as a Test match player this summer. We all know his one-day batting is on a different level, but I think he's really taken confidence in the clarity that we've been able to give this dressing room, which has really resonated with him, and that's why I think we've seen the output from him as well.
And final thought on your relationship with Brendan McCullum, a new one at the start of the season. How would you describe the way the two of you have bonded over the course of this season?
Yeah, honestly, it's pretty simple. Like, he's constantly says, we're not here for a haircut, and he just thinks, like, what a gig.
That's pretty simple, yeah. And you share that simplicity of approach.
Yeah, I think you just got to enjoy these moments. You just got to enjoy playing international cricket. It's a huge honour to do, and at the end of the day, if you can't walk off enjoying what you've done, even in the bad days, bad days will almost make the good days even better. Failure is why you succeed, because you don't want to feel failure. You always want to feel success, but it's never going to happen that way. But failure always keeps you grounded, always keeps you level. And yeah, I've really loved this summer. It's been very enjoyable, and I'm glad that we've reaped the rewards as a team.
Ben Stokes talking to Alison Mitchell there. Michael Carberry and Tamal Mills are with us this evening on 5 Live Cricket. I thought one of the most interesting things, well, so many things, Michael, that you could delve into, but actually he talks about different players putting their hands up and delivering at different points over the summer. And actually, if you reflect on the whole summer, I know there have been a couple of players who've had stellar summers, but most matches have seen someone different actually put their hand up and deliver something for England, haven't they? Oh, can Michael hear us? Maybe Michael can't hear us. Tamal, did you hear that?
I did, mate. I did. Have you got me?
Right. Okay. Yeah, you answer that one then.
Yeah, look, you're right. And none of us knew really how this summer was going to go, did we? Obviously, it was a big change of the guard. Baz coming in, someone that I've played with and against in franchise cricket. This was his first appointment in Test cricket, but he certainly brought that positivity from the white ball game into Test match cricket. And I think Stokesy obviously hit the nail on the head, himself included. He's obviously one of those players that performed really, really strongly and certainly led by the front at various stages in this Test match summer. And it's just been great to watch, hasn't it? It's worked. England have won 6 out of 7 Test matches, is it, in this summer?
Yeah,
and they've done it in a way that it has been fun and entertaining. You think back to those run chasers at the start of the summer where Stokesy and Johnny were chasing everything down pretty easily. It was really good to watch.
It's the style and it's the energy, and also Michael. I mean the stats, as Tamal's mentioned them, 6 out of 7 wins since Ben Stokes took the captaincy, compared to, let's not forget, before that, 1 win in the last 17 before he came in. And you could argue different opponents and different conditions and so on and so forth, but that's a very good start.
Yeah, absolutely. Good evening, everyone. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's been a very impressive start, like Tamal said, and I think Ben Stokes has obviously taken to captaincy very, very well. I think there's been also some good finds as well. I think the likes of like Matthew Potts, I think, has come into the team and has been very impressive in the way he's gone about his work, and he seems to have slotted in very well as a young player, coming off the back of a good county season. I think Ben Stokes, I think those in the know have always been quite impressed with his keeping. I think he's also played some important knocks with the bat, particularly at Old Trafford. And goes without saying, I think Johnny Bestow has probably been the man of the summer, really, in the way he's gone about, plundering attacks, I should say, with this new sort of approach that Mccullough has gone about it. So, it's definitely, as Tamal said, it's been great to watch, been great entertainment. But with everything, nothing lasts forever. And, for me, I have, some slight concerns about it, but, in the longevity of it. But, so far, so good.
Okay, right. Before we get to the concerns, though, we'll keep going on the positive side of things, and then we'll come to the concerns. The big decisions that they took, and we're going to hear from Brendan McCullum in a moment, and Michael mentioned Tamal, obviously Bestow at 5, and how he has flourished there. But he's flourished there with Pope at 3, which in the main has worked so far in the main. Root now at 4. Stokes no longer at 5. Stokes at 6. Anderson and Broad being back after not necessarily in the winter. The big decisions so far have worked.
Yeah, and I think Stokesy alluded to it in that that clip there. I think it's maybe previous regimes have maybe overthought things a little bit and overcomplicated things. By the sounds of it, Brendan's come in, and along with Stokesy, it's okay. What do we think our best team for this game? Okay, yeah. Do we back this bloke as a character? Do they look at things a bit more that way? And then it's okay. Go out there and have fun. And there's genuinely knowing Baz a little bit from playing with him and under him when he was a captain. He certainly doesn't give. Sometimes as players, there's a bit of a fear of failure, and you walk off and you're worried about what's going to get said about you. But I guarantee, without being in the dressing room this summer with the Test side, if any of those batters have got out for a low score, Baz will be the first person to put an arm around and pump them up and fire them back out again. So you're right. The selections and the choices have so far paid off. As Carb said, you've got a different challenge going into the winter now. You've got a Test series in Pakistan at the end of the year, and then there'll be different challenges as the years go on. But the players that have needed to stand up at different times certainly have, and I think they all seem to have kind of been riding the wave a little bit it looks like they believe what they're doing and they're enjoying it, and as Carbs will know as well, when you go out there with that swagger and that confidence and that belief, that collective belief as a team, that's when the 50-50 moments, those breaks tend to fall your way.
And is that, Michael, it can't just be swagger and belief when it comes to Johnny Bairstow, can it? And just put it in perspective what he's done. Between 2017 and 19, he averaged just under 28 in 32 games and was dropped. In 2021, he averaged 24.44. He's the leading run scorer now in Test cricket in 2022 with an average of 66.31, 1,061 runs. That and I'm pointing at my head here. That can't just be up there, is it?
I mean, I'm a great believer in, and Timer will probably back me up here as well. In terms, I think environment is such a big thing when you're playing at the highest level. So that that feeling of belonging, knowing that batting's a tough game at the best of times, and you're going to get good balls, you're going to make low scores. That's just the nature of the game. But knowing that when you walk back to the sheds, as I say, there's not to say tickling tummies, but certainly there's an element, like I say, of pumping blokes up and making them feel part of the unit, and there's that genuine belief. And I think I think it's a combination of, for Johnny, in terms of, one, I think he's also probably ironed out some technical deficiencies he's had in the past as well, where he used to get his bowled ratio was quite high. I think he's certainly played a lot straighter than I've seen him in this summer than maybe summers before. But again, I think it's the environment, I think, and the way he likes to play, which is generally on the more positive side, I think have gone sort of hand in hand. And I think, but what I liked about those innings, to throw in the mix, is it's the control. It wasn't just mindless sort of slogging.
Yeah.
It was good batsmanship. He put away the bad ball. He gave himself time up front in a lot of those innings, and then, as he just accelerated as the innings went on. So I'm going to sound like the old dinosaur here, but I like the controlled aggression. I like the control element of the innings.
Yeah, I think on that as well, as I mentioned earlier, Brendan is bringing that, I don't want to say the white ball mentality to Test cricket, but it kind of is. England are playing in a, they're setting games up for a run chase. They've been quoted several times this summer saying a Test match, they'll back themselves to chase anything in the fourth innings, and obviously they've done that on a couple of occasions this summer. And we've got a lot of very good white ball batters in that top six. You know, Johnny Bestow's been smashing it in the IPL for the last however long he plays. You know, even though he opens the batting in 50 over cricket, him and Jason Roy have been, you know, outstanding at the top of the innings there. He's one of the best T20 batters in the world as well. So Stokes is obviously IPL MVP, I think, on a couple of occasions. So those guys there have played a lot of white ball cricket, and just that bringing, kind of almost setting games up to get to a crescendo of a run chase, I think suits the characters in that England batting lineup, if that makes sense. You know, the glory kind of, okay, here's a day, here's a score, let's go get it and be heroes. And look, as I said earlier, look, you immediately think back to that test right at the summer at Trent Bridge. It was just brilliant viewing, wasn't it?
It was. We've heard from the captain. Let's hear from the coach now. Here is Brendan McCullough.
The way the guys have bought into everything the skipper's asked of them, and the style of play that is authentic to him, and the way he leads, and obviously the results are fantastic, but I think the mentality shift amongst these guys has been quite amazing, and it's been something pretty special to be a part of, to be honest.
Can you tell us how that mentality shift exactly came about? Is it the two of you together? Was it more Ben? Was it more you?
Well, it's definitely more Ben. He's the leader of the side, and you know, I think the way he plays cricket, the way he lives his life is exactly how he leads a group of men as well. And the guys have got right in behind it. They know that he's going to leave it all out there for him, and his messaging's been outstanding. Right throughout, it's been very consistent. It's been about trying to entertain, trying to ensure that people that pay their money and turn on their TVs and listen on the radio and turn up in the grounds have been entertained. And Test cricket is such an amazing game that it needs the relevance and it needs that support, and that was where the messaging from Ben and where his head's at, that's what our job is. And ideally you want to get the results, and ultimately we're judged by the results, but fundamentally our job is to entertain and ensure that everyone goes home happy.
How much did you know of Stokes before you started working with him? Did it match your expectations?
I thought he'd be good. I didn't realise he'd be this good. We knew each other a little bit, but I think our relationship certainly blossomed over the last couple of months, and enjoyed spending a lot of time with him and working closely with him. He's an incredible human being, actually, and we've seen his life documented on tape recently, and you've seen his own struggles and where he's at in his career and what he's been able to achieve as well. But one thing about him is he's a genuine, authentic person who loves being able to give guys freedom to go and be the best version of themselves on the cricket field. And I think that's really resonated with this group, and hence why we've seen some guys who probably came into the summer with question marks over their head being able to go out there and perform and look every bit as good as every international cricketer going around.
Very pleasing at the end to see Zach Crawley hit the winning runs. He one of those players that you're thinking of?
Yeah, definitely. Look, I think what we saw from Zach in the last innings is what he's capable of achieving, and I think we've got to be real careful in this country in particular, in this game, that we don't try and catch form with selections. I think you've got to give guys, if you think they're good enough and you see something in them and you think they've got a high ceiling, give them the opportunity and then give them time to be able to work it out. And Zach's one of those guys, and I think he'll learn a lot from this innings. He's obviously had these moments before in his Test career, but I think this process he's gone through over the last few months will hold him in good stead, and I think everyone saw how good a player he is, and I'm sure he'll grow and develop from where he is, but he's certainly one of those players there.
A couple of players who at the start of the summer, when they were left out of the West Indies tour, there were thoughts that this could have perhaps been the farewell test for them, Stuart Broad and James Anderson, and yet here we are, and they both seem as hungry as ever, and they're performing and they're taking wickets and winning you matches. What does it take to bring out the best in them?
Oh, and they're smiling as well, which is good to see. So they are quite incredible humans, actually. For them to still have that desire and that dedication to try and not just get better and perform for themselves, but also to pass on information and to give other guys freedom within the dressing room, and to get in the fight and in the competition it's pretty unique characters. And I think those guys have still got a lot to offer in the next few years, and hopefully that's where their heads are at as well, because they're two of the all-time greats, and they operate in the same side, so it gives us so much freedom and so much control when it comes to our bowling and the ability to take 20 wickets, which you need to win Test matches.
Was there ever a moment where you sat down with either or both of them sort of prior to this summer, with them coming back into the Test side?
No, not really. It's sort of, my job at the start was to softly get to know these guys and to understand, what makes them tick and what their motivations are and where they see themselves within not just this summer but moving forward, and that'll continue to be a process that we go through. And I've just enjoyed getting to know them all, and I thought English cricket had a lot of talent. It's got a lot more talent than I thought, and I knew these guys were good, but they're a lot better than I thought. And that's a very privileged position to be in, to be able to help these guys to go out there and perform for their country. And it's been an absolute thrill right throughout the season.
A Pakistan tour will pose a quite different set of conditions and different challenge to a home summer. What are you expecting and how to approach that?
Yeah, that's something we'll have to look at in time, and obviously there'll be some flexibility in regards to balance of the side and things like that and different skill sets, but I just want us to really focus on what we've been able to achieve over the last sort of couple of months, and it's been such a great journey, and we've been able to entertain a lot of people and achieve some really cool things, and just let that sort of simmer away and let that kind of resonate with the guys for a bit, and hopefully in time we'll look back on the summer really fondly, and guys that have shared this dressing room throughout the summer, in 15, 20 years' time, they'll get together and talk about the summer that we've had, and then that if that's our focus and we stay where we are right now, then things will work out. When Pakistan arrives, we'll sort things out there, hopefully.
I deliberately haven't used the phrase that's been coined over the course of the summer to describe the style of play. How would you want to sum up and describe the style of play?
Well, I think both Stokes and myself and the leaders within the group, we talk. For us, it's not about crash, bang, wallop. It's about trying to give the guys the freedom by taking away some of the external noise and the pressures and taking away a lot of stuff which can enter your head sometimes, and the negativity, and it can stymie your ability to actually let your talent come out. If we can take some of that stuff away, remain consistent with messaging, keep giving guys confidence and freedom, then over time talent comes out, and when your talent's good enough, you're going to be able to succeed. And hopefully that's the overriding message throughout the summer, is that guys have been able to mature and perform in their own way at their own time. And for some guys like Johnny Bestow, it's 100 off 70 balls. For someone like Ben Folkes, it's doing things differently and painting the canvas in his own way. And Ollie Pope are the same. So hopefully that's what we've been able to achieve this summer. There's still big challenges to come, obviously, in the next couple of years, but for now I think it's been a pretty successful summer.
Brendan McCullum with Alison Mitchell. So much to delve into there with Michael Carberry and Tamal Mills on 5 Live Cricket. Jimmy Anderson has said Tamal is the happiest he's been in an England dressing room. Does that surprise you? It's always difficult to tell with him, I admit, but does it surprise you?
No. As you say, I don't want to keep repeating myself, but having spent time with Baz as a player, I don't see how you could really... now he's a leader, the head coach of his side. I struggle to see how you could have a bad time in that environment. He's a very relaxed character. He's not the type of coach that's going to be pacing up and down, scratching, swearing, sweating, and those type of things. It'll be a fun environment. He enjoys life away from cricket as well. It wouldn't be a cricket environment. Look, Jimmy's still performing as well, isn't he? I've spent a little bit of time with him doing media this summer. He's still bowling, as well as he ever has done. And when you're bowling well, of course, you're enjoying sport, aren't you? Whenever any of us are playing well, you enjoy it so much more.
Well, you're both international cricketers, but Michael, when he talks about taking away the noise, taking away the outside noise, how can he do that within a dressing room?
Well, I think that was probably the role he was brought in for, which was to, let's go back in time a little bit. I mean, England were pretty much in the doldrums start of this summer. There was a lot of negative press and comments around, our performances in Test cricket. I think having a new captain, a new coach come in who's going to promote that sort of freedom to go out there, play with freedom. I think you create that really, as I said, environment is everything when you're a top level elite international sports person. I mean, the messages that you get from above, do affect certain players. I mean, because as time will tell you, it doesn't always go well. You're under the spotlight. It only takes a batsman to catch hold of you, or from a batter's perspective, a good ball here and there, and you miss out in a few games, and you're starting to feel all the pressure from media, press, crowd, all these things. I think the one place where you should feel safe is coming back to your own dressing room. The only people you really need, those are the people that are going to be the closest to you when you're performing. So I think, having those messages from the coach of, look, don't worry about it. I want you to go out and play exactly the same way, to, back yourselves in any situation, I think is very important for the environment you're trying to create. And look, at the moment it's working.
I think on that as well, you as a coach, you can't take away the outside noise, but you can ignore it as a coach. And I think, say, Zach Crawley is probably the biggest example of that in that team. When you talk about outside noise, every man and his dog has been calling for Zach Crawley to get dropped from that team at some point this summer, didn't they? Because he was obviously struggling and he wasn't performing where he would like to. But Baz and the selectors kept playing him, kept faith, and I'm sure within the dressing room and around training and that environment, I'm sure been getting around him, working on X, Y, and Z. And whilst I'm sure Zach himself will still think he's got a long way to go, you see today finish off and yesterday, what did he get, 69 not out of 57 to win a test. You might look back on this summer in a year's time, if he kicks on and he's still opening the batting and he's going really well, which I hope he is. You'll look back on that, and that will be a case of the coach and the hierarchy blocking out the outside noise and sticking to their guns and their process, and then that would be the rewards of that.
Michael?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'll be honest. I've watched Zach Crawley for a while now, and I was, I think he's a very lucky boy to be playing still. But as I said, that's the benefits of having a system and a structure that backs you. You can't really fail in this situation. I mean, I think the knock he played today undoubtedly would have bought him a little bit more time, but again, let's not get caught up with the noise ourselves. I mean, look, he really needs to, I think, really work at, his game. He obviously has some talent. He's well documented. He's a very good ball striker, but I think what we need to see now is, can he be a very good batsman? I think there's a massive difference between the two.
Where do you stand on this then? You're the perfect person to ask here. Matt Roller of ESPN Crick Info tweeted this. He's written some really good articles this summer as Matt. But anyhow, he tweeted this. Zach Crawley in this English Test summer, 276 runs at 23. All other openers in the 2022 English Test summer, 915 runs at 23.46. So all the other openers average 23.46. Crawley averages 23. Conclusion: opening in England is hard.
Yeah, it is hard. It is hard, and so it should be. I've always said it's the toughest, probably the toughest country to be opening the batting. But I think when I watch Zach Crawley bat, certainly this summer and where he's been struggling, it seems very frenetic. And I think this is what I say about, I was talking about the sort of the way Johnny Bestow has batted. Even though he's been aggressive, there's been an element of control about how he's gone about his work. When I watch Zach Crawley bat, it all looks like he's got a train to catch every ball. He's almost gone out searching for the ball rather than keeping things under control. And that's how you bat in the UK. I mean, you're going to get good balls. Their swing, their seam movement. That's opening the batting every day. The key, when you're talking to young players about being positive, I think it's also to stress to them that positive is also picking the right ball to hit. Being solid in defence and then punishing the bad ball. This sort of uber positive approach, gung ho approach. I think, certainly for opening the batting in England, I think, there just needs to be, a little flea in the air just to say, look, keep control.
Just one from both of you on Ben Stokes, and Tamal, you go first. It strikes me that in many ways, from listening to him this summer and some of the interviews he's done, not just after a game, he's done a lot of interviews around launching this film that's out about him, and the interviews have been fascinating at times. It strikes me that as a man and as an individual, he can bring so much life experience to the role of captain, both from the highs and the lows, both from talent on the field and what he's done, but also to some of the dark spots he's gone to off the field. And I wonder whether that as a man is definitely helping his leadership.
Yeah, I'm sure. I haven't actually watched the documentary yet. It's on my to-do list, but everyone says it's a great watch. But yeah, I think
that's because you do so much broadcasting, Tamal, over this summer. That's why.
I literally have been playing all broadcast. Tell you what, I'm getting the train up to Derby tomorrow to commentate on the women's women's game. So
exactly. Watch it then.
I'll download it for the train. But yeah, I think in general, without having done a lot of captaincy myself, the more rounded you are as a human in general is going to stand you in good stead for captaincy, because when you captain, you're captaining 10 other men or women on the pitch, plus larger squads as well. And within those groups, you're going to have so many different people with so many different experiences. And the more you can relate to all of those different people and the backroom staff and everybody else, the more you're going to resonate with your players. If you are a bit of a one-dimensional character who doesn't have a bit of an edge, you can get pigeonholed, can't you? You can maybe struggle in certain situations, and obviously Stokesy, some of the trials and tribulations he's gone through in his life, as you say, on and off the cricket field, have obviously been well documented. Everybody knows about them, but ultimately everybody will have the utmost respect for him as a cricketer. How many times just this summer have you seen him bowling clearly with some sort of ailment, a niggle, a knee injury, he's been struggling with his knee this past year, but he doesn't shirk at all. He bowls the tough overs. I think it was yesterday I was watching the test, and it probably would have been easier to bring Broad or Anderson on a little bit earlier before this, or Robinson, before the second new ball, but he kept going. So not the second new ball. There was before tea, but he kept going through till tea, so then his bowlers could have a bit more of a break, have tea, and then come back afterwards, and he ended up taking a wicket as a reward of that. So he leads by example, which ultimately is all you want from a captain. And because he obviously bats, bowls and fields as well, he gives himself the best chance to lead by example. But without being in that dressing room this summer, I'm going to be with him in the World Cup in a couple of weeks in Australia, so I can probably give you a bit more of although he won't be captain, I can obviously speak a bit better to what he's like around the group once we get back from Australia, I guess. But I can imagine just being around him has definitely rubs off on everybody else.
Michael? We've lost Michael. Michael's audio's dropped, so we'll try and get Michael back. He doesn't know his audio's dropped. He's still talking away on Zoom to himself, but we'll get Michael back in just a moment. We can bring Paul Farbrace into this discussion. Warwickshire's Director of Cricket, former England coach, of course. Evening, Paul.
Evening, chappers. How are you? All good?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. Tamal Mills, Michael Cadbury with us as well. Just one on that, and Ben Stokes and the man as a leader. Forget all the cricketing side of it, but the man.
Well, I mean, listening to your question to Ty, then it's the rounded individual, and I've always said that the more responsibility you give Ben Stokes, the better he responds, and that's why we moved him up to bat at 6, bowl as your first change, feel where you want to, give him the responsibility. Trevor Bayliss, when he said he'd be an excellent captain because he's a leader and people follow what he does. People laughed in the press conference when he said that, but we're now seeing that he leads by example, and as T was just saying then, he bowls the tough overs, he doesn't ask people to do anything that he wouldn't do himself, and at the moment he's trying to push the boundaries in terms of how he wants the team to play. So, I think he's leading through example, People follow him, and as a personality, he's a sort of bloke you want to follow, and he's a sort of bloke you want to play for, and you can see that in the way the team are playing.
Michael, we've got you back.
Yeah, sorry about that. Technology. No, 100%. I agree. I mean, I've obviously been on tours with Ben Stokes. I've seen him at the very start of his career. I was very impressed with him as a young guy. He's been England's talisman for a long time. Now, I think that's the best way to lead, by example. He strikes me the kind of person you wouldn't ask anyone to do something he couldn't do. He expects maximum effort. And I think it's come through, it's resonated in the way he's led the squad so far. So I think the partnership with Mccullough, in the way that they want the team to play, has almost gone hand in hand.
Paul, we've got you on as well, both for cricketing knowledge, but also as Ollie Robinson's stepfather as well. After another great performance from Ollie, and 5 for 49 in the first innings, and that got him the player of the match. And just really to talk about his resilience, because he's had a tough summer again.
Yeah, he has, and I think he's a great example of what we're talking about there in terms of Ben Stokes. And I'm not saying other captains haven't got the best out of him, because yes, they have. But I think, the way that Stokes threw him the new ball in the last game at Manchester and said, "Come on, mate, you're the man. I've backed you. I've told you I want you to bowl me 3 spells in a day. I want your fitness levels to be at a level where you can maintain your pace in all 3 levels." And I think that sort of support that he's given him, and the public support, and we've seen the same with Jack Leach, and we're saying the same with Alex Lees and Zach Crawley, the support, Ben Folkes, the way that he's spoken about Folkesy as well, that encourages people to go and play for him and try and back him up as a leader. And I think that's, I think Oliver's definitely benefiting from the way that Ben captains and the way that Baz coaches the team. So, it's working for individuals. And I think, when you're being backed, and, both the guys you got on with you will tell you, when you're backed by the captain and that the captain really wants you to succeed, it's much easier for you as a player to go out and play and perform.
Yeah, I know Ollie really well from playing together down here, and I'm sure Farbs will agree. He's sometimes... He's a type of, he responds well to a bit of a kick up the backside hole, and Stokesy's obviously the type of character to obviously give him that, I think. And he's I know Ol's worked really hard since the Ashes and the West Indies tour at the start of the year, where he obviously kind of kept pulling up and wasn't able to perform as he'd like. And yeah, it's been brilliant to watch these last couple of tests. Watch him steam in. You can tell Ollie when he's on and he's feeling good, cause, his run-up's got that bit more zip about him, and you'll notice it on the speed gun as well, which is what people are unfortunately now paying a lot more attention to, aren't they? Everyone's looking at the speed gun. Okay, is it dropping off? Is it not dropping off? But this Test match he kept it up there, and I know Rig loves playing for England. It's what he wants to do. He's had what was he, the quickest to 50 wickets I think for England in Test matches, which is an amazing achievement, really, if you really think about it, especially with all the negative that's been spoken about him in different areas, to be the fastest bowler to 50 wickets for England. I've got that right, haven't I? I've not just made that up.
No, you've got that right, definitely.
Yeah. So that's an amazing achievement. Like with all the great bowlers that have played for England. So obviously different challenges coming up now. The boys are going to go to Pakistan for tests in December, and that's obviously a completely different animal than what we've watched this summer. So another challenge will be ahead in a few months, and I'm interested to see how the big fella goes.
Tamal talked about him sometimes needing a kick up the backside, Paul, but you also mentioned, Stokes maybe saying a plan for him, right, over the course of the day I'm going to need you to bowl 3 spells and this and and obviously plans can go depending on what the opposition are doing or whether conditions change or not. But is he the kind, maybe all bowlers are like this, you tell me, but is he the kind of guy that needs to at the start of the day what the plan for him will be?
No, I think he's, I think he's quite a thoughtful bowler. I think, I think he thinks about the game a lot. He plans how he's going to play. I think he works out how he's going to bowl at certain bowlers, and he spends a lot of time watching and thinking about the game. And I think, T's right. He does need a a bit of a kick up the backside sometimes. And I think the people that have got the best out of him, Mark Robinson when he first went to Sussex, Jason Gillespie then followed on, and I think Stokesy exactly the same now. I think there's a loving arm around one shoulder and there's a little dig in the ribs from the other hand just to keep him going. And I think he needs that. I think he needs that good balance of knowing where he is, but also knowing he's being backed and supported, but every so often just a little nudge in the right direction. And I think, they're the people that have got the best out of him. And I think he responds well to that sort of management. But as I say, I think all players respond well when they know that, they're in the team, they're being backed, they're being supported, and they're being given the opportunity to go and do what they do. But, I do think he's a good thinker about the game, and I think he is someone who certainly works out the game and how he wants to play it, to be honest.
And Michael, actually, that's good to hear, because that tells us that it's more than, just to use your phrase from earlier, a sort of tickle your tummy environment, everything, just go out and play and everything will be all right. There is some steel there as well within it.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose when he's at a point in his career where he's still relatively new. He's sort of very, very much from the sort of Broad Anderson mould, and what two greats to learn off. I think that's undoubtedly helped him in his Test career so far. Just watching two of the very, very best of all time go about their work, and he's been able to get into their slipstream and carve out his own niche almost. So he's been very impressive. Just his patience. Just being able to land skill. Pretty much most spells. The way he's worked over the batsman, not necessarily through vicious pace and bounce, but just accuracy and that sort of always at the batters, always making them testing their techniques. Has been impressive to watch in his short career so far.
How much has that collective been important to him, Paul? With Broad and Anderson, for example.
I think any player that goes into the England team, any seam bowler that goes in, when he first went in, he was amazed by their levels of fitness and their preparation for game. But he has definitely spent a lot of time watching them practice, talking to them, and they've been fantastic with him. And again, they're not people that, they're not people who are just going to say, this is what you do. They're people that say, well, this has worked for us. Try this, have a look at this. But also, I think being around those two blokes who are two of the greatest bowlers of all time, let alone English cricket, if you don't learn from them and you don't actually open your eyes and watch them and listen to the way they're talking, watch how they prepare, then, you're not going to learn, are you? Because, they are two of the best. And I've always been adamant, even as a coach, players learn from players. They don't learn from coaches. Coaches facilitate that learning, but players watch other players. They learn from other players. They see what other players do, and what a fantastic opportunity for any bowler, whether it's Potts, whether it's Oliver, whoever it is that's got in the England team, when you've got those two guys to work and listen to and practice with, that really must help your game enormously get better.
Thank you very much, Paul. This long season's very nearly over.
Nice to finish with a win today, though. Brilliant to finish with a win.
Good stuff, Paul. Thank you. Yeah. Paul Farbrace with us on 5 Live Cricket. Tamal Mills and Michael Carberry with us as well. And Vernon Philander joins as part of the TMS team during this series, and also a former teammate of Mark Boucher, the South African head coach, who it's been announced today will step down after the upcoming T20 World Cup. Ian and Vernon, are you surprised by that?
Good evening. Yeah, it came as a shock to all of us. I suppose, it's tough to coach across all three formats, isn't it? Obviously he's got a young family back home, and I suppose it does certainly take its toll on you as a person, and I think that's probably why England has gone with multi-format coaches, and that's probably the way forward these days. So, yeah, it certainly is a bit of a surprise and probably a shock to most of us South Africans. But one could probably see it coming.
The statement says that it will allow him to pursue other opportunities in line with his future career and personal objectives, which, as you say, talking about his family and stuff, it implies that it's not just a reaction to losing a test series here, that there is a bigger picture at play.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, especially as ex-players as well, you'd have spent a big part of your career being on tour, being away from home, and of course, the day that you retire, you want to, shift on to, being a bit of a family man, having more time available to your family. And of course, when you take up a international coaching role, you basically become a player again, because you're back on tour again, and you spend obviously, months at a time away from home. So it certainly does become difficult. But yeah, I can probably, I could probably see that coming, from a mile away. Shorter, all of these leagues around the world at the moment, 6 weeks to 2 months at a time. That's probably the way to go. Or maybe perhaps a multi-format coach, where you assign your time to the, to the test team or the one day or the white ball stuff, so that you can actually allocate more time to your family. So it is a bit of a difficult one, but I could probably, see it coming for a while.
Vern, I read online that he's down to be one of the coaches in line for the Mumbai owned franchise in the new SA tournament. If that is the case, how will that go down, where the head coach has left, kind of what should be, I guess, the big job for a job in the domestic calendar, and it's obviously with the South African team already pulling out of international games to facilitate this new league, which I'm looking forward to playing in. If I'm being honest, I
was wondering at what point during this question you were going to admit self-interest here, Tim. But keep going.
Good plug, Tim. Love it.
I mean, I'll sign my contract. I'll be there in January as well. But how will that go down in SA if that ends up playing out as I mentioned it there?
Yeah, I think first of all, I've got absolutely no clue what's going on in that league. And second of all, I'll put in a good word for you. But I think, I think at the end of the day, one have to look at the guy's personal, state and condition. And I think, like I've alluded to, I think, most of these leagues around the world afford coaches, to do shorter stints, and really allow them to open up more free time with their families. And like I said, it's not as if, he's only coming to a coaching role. I think, he's also played the game for, probably 15, 16 years plus. So, that obviously takes its toll on you as a human being, as a family man. So, to go into a coaching role, that's soon after your playing career, certainly, just knocks down, that family responsibilities even further. So, I do foresee that the roles of coaches, will almost become consultants, in many ways, where you want to free up a certain time of the year, that you can really, invest into family as well. I mean, and I can only speak for myself, having played the game for a long period of time as well, you do feel the pressure of having to, also make time for your families. I mean, I've got a 4-year-old at the moment, and you do feel that, you want to work obviously as hard as you possibly can, but also you need to make time for your family. And of course, international cricket, you're on the road all the time and you're away from your families. And I mean, it's not as if you can take your family, on every single tour that you're on. So it certainly does become a massive one. But I think in his case, look, I mean, if it is true that he's taken up the job, with the Mumbai Indians, Cape Town, whichever that name is, if I got the name correctly. But I certainly do feel that you probably want to make more time available for his family.
Yeah, hey, Vern, how you doing? It's Carbs. Just a quick question from me, man. Good to hear from you. So that now that Boucher's obviously announced he's stepping down, who would you like to see as his sort of replacement? And looking at the series, how it unfolded today, I mean, where do you think South Africa are now with their Test cricket?
Yeah, I think it's a difficult one. I think, he's obviously left us all in the lurch. But I think, if I have to look, as to who's around, especially in South Africa, you probably look at a guy like Aswell Prince. I think he's probably the more balanced character in what the team needs right now. And I think for me, the big concern in South African cricket has been the batting for the last probably 24 months. I've always been questioning, 200s in the last 18 months. That's what they've managed to put together as a top order. So that to me has always been a massive and a big concern. Of course, South Africa's produced absolute greats over the years. And, Callis, Amla, De Villiers, Du Plessis, you can name a whole array of names. So for me, you want to bring those sort of expertise back into the system. How they're going to do it, is obviously a question mark. But I do feel that this current crop of batsmen can learn a hell of a lot, from guys like, the names that I've just mentioned. And it's so important to utilize those expertise at some stage, because I've been a massive believer that the reason why I played the game was to set a standard, and the generation after me is to get better at it. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I do believe that Cricket South Africa will have to go and sit and think and really utilize. In many ways, all of those expertise has been pushed aside a little bit. So, yeah, how are they going to bring it back into the system? It's going to be really interesting to see.
Vernon, thank you very much for coming on. Vernon Philander with us on 5 Live Cricket, and we'll continue every feature being somehow linked to Tamal's career at the moment. So we had Ollie Robinson a few moments ago. We've done the South African new T20 League, and now we're going to talk about the England Women's T20 3-match series against India, because Tamal will be part of the commentary team for the BBC tomorrow, as will Anya Shrubsole. Evening, Anya.
Good evening.
So, as far as this team is concerned at the moment, are you starting to see not a changing of the guard, but now the real next generation, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think if you kind of look over the last kind of 12, 18 months, there's some younger players, some fresh faces coming through. I think I saw a stat that the T20 game the other night was the first time no one from the 2017 World Cup team has been playing for England or not playing in that game. So there's a definite shift happening, and I think it's a good thing. I think it's coming at the right time, and it's kind of showing the benefits and the rewards of the kind of more professional domestic setup in this country.
I mean, that actually probably feels about right from the effect of the World Cup win to where we are now. Then it feels like about the right time to start seeing lots more coming through, doesn't it?
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. I think that kind of 5-year period is what you'd be looking at, and I think you've always got to have a balance. I think you want some senior experience heads around, but you want those fresh faces coming in and really pushing to want to be in the side and really pushing the standard, I guess.
I think also since the 100's come about as well, it's really accelerated the development of all the young women and girls coming through. I'm sure it was a case not that long ago really where 7 or 8 of the women in the England side didn't really, had a really long leash in terms of they'd had to do a lot bad to get dropped, whereas now with all these players coming through via the 100 and experiencing higher level cricket, there's a lot more competition for places, and as a result pressure on places as well.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that's something that's potentially been lacking, I would say, maybe over the last 4 or 5 years, and I think that competition is really healthy. You've got people coming through who are desperate to be in the squad and in the side, and it means that the people who are in possession of those places have got to work harder, keep developing, keep improving if they want to keep their place. And I think that's one of the main things that really drives, I guess, the standard forward, drives the team forward. And it's really exciting to see the likes of Freya Kemp, Lauren Bell, Alice Capsey, all of those coming through and really pushing people who have previously been in possession of those places.
But actually, I mean, Tamal talks about the 100 effect there. Amy Jones is a late change as captain because Nat Siver pulling out to focus on her mental health. Well, Amy Jones has got captaincy experience through Birmingham Phoenix, and as you yourself will know, there are high pressure captaincy experiences in the 100, which Amy Jones might not have got elsewhere.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. I think that the 100 the last couple of years has just been incredible, and for so many reasons provides a platform for so many people, like say someone like Amy Jones captaining Birmingham Phoenix, then stepping up to England. But the girls who are coming in and making their international debuts, having played in a competition like that on TV in front of the crowds that we're getting, the kind of pressure, all of those kind of things, it stands people in such good stead when it then, I guess, happens for England.
Yeah, it doesn't get much more pressure, does it, than Nat Siver hitting 3 sixes in a row with when needing 4, for example?
Yeah, that wasn't fun to watch, if I'm being really honest with you. I was chatting to Charlotte after the game. I said I was completely calm for 97 balls of that innings, and within 2 balls, it's absolute chaos. So that wasn't fun to watch, no, but we came out on the right side in the end.
You did. Thank you very much for coming on, Anya. Appreciate that. Anya Shrubsole with us on 5 Live Cricket. Michael, Timal, thank you very much for your company this evening, both of you.